Hello.
Hi, Marcin.
Let's wait 2 minutes more. Okay, so let's start. Have you watched the video from the last weekly recording? The last OCI weekly discussion?
I didn't.
So a quick recap.
Sorry, no.
No worries.
I watched like 3/4 of it, I think.
Okay, Vanessa wins.
I don't think it's a competition. My impression of the 3/4 was that there wasn't good communication about the use cases for the artifact.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm not sure. So to step back, you were talking to folks that maintain container runtimes.
No, it was like I wanted to get a feedback because the recording the proposals we recorded with Brandon, the short 10 minutes video, we requested feedback from OCI maintainers on that like 3 weeks ago, something like that. And we didn't hear from them at all. So I just pop up on the meeting and try to chase them to express their opinion on that. Since they didn't have time to watch 10 minutes video over that time, we just jumped with Brandon and decided to show them live what we work on and so on. So as you're right, people didn't understand the use cases at first and they didn't understand the idea, but eventually I think we got there and they had a better picture of that. However, all the time the scheduler use case was popping up and also it was kind of misunderstood. So we will continue the discussion this Thursday. So if you'd like to join, please join because I think most of the time the discussion will be about image compatibility. I hope so. Here
What time is it on Thursday?
7 p.m. This is the same time as
Oh, okay, 11 a.m.
this one. Yeah.
Okay.
Here's the link for the notes and for the last meeting. Generally speaking, people didn't welcome artifact idea well because of some reasons. I'm not. Yeah, the reasons were there is a new spec to maintain and they don't have people basically. A new artifact means new specification to maintain. That's the problem, which they don't kind of like that idea, which I can understand. So there was this thing from Derek. He suggested that we extend the image config for this. Let me share my screen to discuss this.
Yeah, I guess the only issue with that is what if it gets really big and then all of a sudden.
I think in context of manifest, it's not going to be such a big problem as index because you don't have all compatibilities in the index for multiple images. You have just one or you have just compatibilities for one image. So you're extending one single manifest. This is the similar size as an artifact would have, I would say. But the problem is it comes with some limitations, like each time you update the configuration, the requirements, the compatibilities, you get a different digest of the image. So if you are pulling over digest, you have a problem. Your Vanessa use cases for HPC, like if you want to bring your own compatibilities, it's also not gonna be solvable.
Yeah, it's not
right?
gonna work here.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to figure out what can we do. As we have two ways basically. We can try to figure out how to do it without artifact or convince people to use artifact. I'm planning to make a short presentation on Thursday with the use cases that people can understand that better and with the proposed ideas that we don't have this misunderstanding. So yeah, basically this is what I wanted to talk about. If mostly for HPC, if it's acceptable that you have a different digest each time you update the compatibilities, if we can go this path or not.
I think that's not ideal. So to step back, like there's two issues that I hear. One is people don't want to maintain something else, so they're shoving it in something that exists. And I get that they don't want to maintain something else, but I don't think the solution is to make the thing that we need less ideal for the use cases that it needs to serve just because there are not maintainers. If there's truly an issue with maintaining it, well, then we need to solve that issue directly instead of totally changing the entire design and plan because of, you know, a social problem, essentially.
I tend to agree, but reality is there are social issues, and I don't know how to solve that under OCI, because maintenance problem, I see it's kind of a big issue in here, at least from the discussions I hear, and you know, opinions I heard from others. So I'm not so sure how to tackle that. We have to be kind of realistic about what we can do, and because
So okay, so we are just proposing to create an artifact type, right?
yeah,
And arguably there are other artifact types for like SBOMs and signatures that are supported by OCI in that they are artifacts, but OCI does not maintain an SBOM project.
Yeah.
Correct. So why perhaps there's an approach that we could take that's similar to that, where we don't put the new project, the new structure of our compatibility thing on OCI, but we create the content type that is in that list of content type that is known to OCI. So that removes the maintainer burden, still allows us to keep the design that we want, but still, you know, I haven't looked at these repositories for a while, but I remember that there are places you can go to find the kind of artifact types that they sort of recognize. And so maybe that's more of an approach that is something that would be amenable to the current maintainers.
Yeah, that was one of suggestions, that we go outside of OCI with the artifact and build our own specification somewhere and just bring the artifact type into OCI. That was one of the solutions.
Yeah, but here's what I think is going to happen, because let's pretend for an example that OCI says this is fine, we will take on this artifact type. We have a lot of work to do in getting it right, right? So like we're going to prototype something and we're going to test it out, and it's going to be wrong. It's going to not fit the right use cases. It's going to need to be extended or changed. And so if it's something that's in OCI, there's a lot of against the grain kind of work to kind of get those changes in, because everything that goes into OCI needs to be very kind of like hardened and stable.
Yeah.
So it's almost like the same kind of concept for Kubernetes, where like if you want to get something into Kubernetes core, that is a long process. It's very structured. It's slower.
Yeah.
And so common strategy is to have like a SIG project or, you know, a separate project that you can iterate on really quickly. And then maybe after a couple of years, when you have something really great and stable, then you move it into upstream. So I think we have to do our work to, one, figure out exactly what we want, which is not going to be something that we can do a priori, because a lot of these things don't emerge until you try it and you're like, oh, I didn't think of this use. I didn't think of this, and now I have to go back and change it. And then two, we kind of have to prove that it's something useful, because we are presenting something to OCI right now that we think is useful, but we don't actually have any solid proof. We haven't had it in the ecosystem and demonstrated the utility. So I actually kind of, in retrospect, I agree with the sentiment that was in that call. And I think that we should probably try to figure out a way to get it recognized by OCI, but not directly an OCI project, because we have our work to do to get it, you know, hardened, proven, and then maybe down the line, once it's something that is that is the time when it's appropriate and it's more stable for OCI to consider.
I think Brandon's point of view was similar to that we bring something, prove that it's useful, and then come to OCI with that. But what about image selection use cases that container runtimes?
So that I think we still need to fight for OCI. That seems like that seems like a small set of things that go directly into, you know, that first hit when you're selecting your, and that to me seems like something that we should keep fighting for, because it's reasonable, it's small, it's tweaking something that sort of already exists, it's not making a whole new thing, and it's just like, it's like putting a little bit more metadata somewhere, you know, that's going to hugely help a lot of these cases. So
yeah,
that's my 2 cents.
So as a follow-up, what will happen to labels? Do we maintain labels? So I would imagine something like that. We would maybe introduce some new field in the index, and then we wouldn't specify any labels under OCI. We would specify labels on our side, and we would allow this field that accepts any field, there would be no validation on the OCI side. Because if we, for example, try to come up with OCI labels, then the artifact outside doesn't make sense to me. If we do it other way around, that's probably better, because we would test what kind of labels are valid and so on. But also that brings some additional issue for me. Like if it's not under OCI, then gonna be problem with certification under telco, because they require some kind of trust from specific organization. I have to talk to Silva and other telco organizations about this. But I thought about that, basically, how to. Maybe that's the way. Let's see how to deal with that. Hello, Peter.
Yeah, so I don't think I have an answer to the standardization of labels, but I do agree that there's some kind of experimentation in figuring out what labels we actually need. And just to be clear, you're talking about the fact that there's going to be something that looks like key value pairs in the artifact.
Yeah.
And something else that looks like key value pairs in the core image manifest.
Yes.
And you want those to be in the same namespace.
Yeah, because I imagine the labels which are in the index would be a subset of labels that comes from the artifact.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's less an issue for HPC. Like we'll be like io.spec, io.archspec, like YOLO, whatever. So maybe it makes sense for you to talk to your telco folks and figure out what would be acceptable to them, and then we can figure out a direction based on that.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do then. But please join the discussion who can on Thursday anyway. I'm planning to bring some presentation to clear some stuff because I wasn't, let's say, prepared very well, because that was kind of, ad hoc, like trying to people to explain them everything at once for people who didn't even read any proposal. So that was a little bit frustrating.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. Talk to telco and prepare this presentation.
So what meeting is on Thursday? Where is that announced?
I send a link on Google on meeting chat. There you have OCI calendar link. This is OCI weekly discussion. All OCI maintainers.
Okay, the OCI weekly discussion. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Plan to join this meeting. So if we come up with this artifact outside of OCI, I understand HPC would be interested to work on that together, maybe with telco. What about you, Patrick, Dirk? Would you be interested in this effort as well, or not?
I was like assigned to do a lot of other stuff instead of this one, so I probably can't join on Thursday.
That's fine.
Unfortunately, so I'm just sort of hanging around, keeping an eye on how this is going.
Because I remember you were mostly interested in CPU features that you can describe in the index.
Yeah, basically I was like going that one and how to describe, for example, accelerators and whatnot.
Okay, describe accelerators in that case. So the image selection is still valid. As Vanessa said, these use cases are still valid under OCI.
Yeah, so for me, the main motivation is to join for joining or participating in this effort is the ensuring that whatever the specification comes up with is compatible with like a cross distribution compatible, right? So that it can be working for one distribution the same way like it can do for another distribution. So both host distributions and container distributions, which could be from different vendors potentially. That's my main motivation. Unfortunately, I have a conflict next Thursday, so I will not. Well, most likely I will not be able to join, so I will have to watch the recording.
That's okay. That's okay. Okay. Basically, this is what I wanted to discuss today. Do you have anything else? Otherwise, I don't know. We can keep it short.
I'm good with keeping it short. And I actually have that meeting on my calendar because I used to go back in like 2017, back in the day. So I'll show up again.
Cool. So let's see again what they think about the artifact once we explain the use cases, and if they are not welcoming that, I will talk to Telco. We will see other possibilities as well, and we will find the appropriate solution. And for the image selection, the index still makes sense to bring some new field and maybe improve it a little bit. Okay,
Yeah.
guys.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Talk to you
Happy Monday,
soon.
everyone.
Happy Monday. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Happy Friday would be nicer. Bye bye.